The morning sun rose over Haven Colony like it did every other day. Golden light touched the wheat fields and made them glow. Children ran through the streets laughing. Farmers checked their crops. Life was simple here, far from the wars that burned across the galaxy. Una stood at her kitchen window, watching her daughter Hannah chase butterflies in the garden. The girl was 7 years old, with dark hair that flew behind her as she ran. Her laughter was the sweetest sound Una had ever known. 3 years ago, Una had been Commander Una of the Earth Fleet. She had led soldiers into battle. She had made hard choices that cost lives and saved others. But that woman felt like a stranger now. When her husband Taiho died defending a supply convoy from Valoran raiders, something in Una changed. She packed up their life, took Hannah, and moved to the quietest corner of human space she could find. Haven Colony was supposed to be safe. It was supposed to be forgotten. Una poured herself tea and smiled as Hannah caught a butterfly, studied it with wide eyes, then let it go. The girl had her father's gentle heart. The first explosion came without warning. The teacup fell from Una's hands and shattered on the floor. Through the window, she saw fire rising from the spaceport. Black shapes descended from the sky like angry insects. Valoran dropships. She would recognize their design anywhere. Hannah, Una screamed. She ran outside and grabbed her daughter, pulling her close. All around them, people were screaming, running, dying. Valoran soldiers in dark armor moved through the streets, their weapons flashing green death. Una's military training took over. She carried Hannah through back alleys, avoiding the main roads. Her old service pistol was hidden under a floorboard in their home, but going back was impossible now. Flames had already reached their street. "Mama, I'm scared," Hannah whispered. "I know, baby. I know. But I need you to be brave. Can you do that for me?" Hannah nodded, tears running down her cheeks. The evacuation shuttles were launching from the eastern field. Una could see them rising into the sky, each one carrying survivors to safety. She just needed to reach them. Just a few more streets. A Valoran soldier stepped out from behind a burning building. He was tall, covered in gray scales, with yellow eyes that held no mercy. His weapon pointed directly at them. Una pushed Hannah behind her. "Run to the shuttles. Don't look back. Mama, no. Run." Hannah ran. Una charged at the soldier with nothing but her bare hands. It was foolish. It was desperate. But it gave her daughter a chance. The soldier was stronger. He threw Una aside like she weighed nothing. Her head hit the ground hard, and the world became blurry. Through the haze of pain, she saw more soldiers arriving. She saw them chasing the fleeing humans. She saw one of them grab a small figure with dark hair. "Hannah!" Una tried to scream, but her voice came out as a whisper. She crawled forward, her fingers digging into the dirt. Blood dripped from a wound on her forehead. The Valoran soldier stood over her, watching with what might have been amusement. "This one has fire," he said to his companion in their harsh language. Una understood it. She had learned it during the war. "Should we take her too?" "No, she is damaged. Not worth the transport cost. Leave her to die." They walked away. They walked toward the dropship where other soldiers were loading captured humans like cargo. Una saw Hannah struggling in a soldier's grip. The girl was fighting, kicking, biting. So brave, so helpless. "Mama!" Hannah's scream cut through the chaos. "Mama, help me!" Una tried to stand. Her legs would not obey. She tried to crawl faster. The ground seemed to stretch endlessly before her. The dropship's engines were warming up. Its doors were closing. Hannah. The last thing Una saw before darkness took her was the dropship rising into the smoke-filled sky. Her daughter's face was pressed against a small window, growing smaller and smaller until it disappeared among the stars. When Yuna woke, Haven Colony was dead. The wheat fields had burned to ash. The streets were filled with bodies. The sky was empty, except for the distant glow of Valaran warships jumping to hyperspace, taking their prizes with them. Yuna lay in the ruins for 2 days. She drank rainwater from puddles. She ate nothing. Sometimes she slept. Mostly she stared at the sky and whispered her daughter's name. On the 3rd day, an Earth Fleet patrol ship found the colony. Soldiers in clean uniforms walked through the destruction, their faces pale with horror. One of them discovered Yuna half buried under collapsed wood. "Survivor!" he shouted. "We have a survivor." They brought her aboard their ship. Doctors treated her wounds. Officers asked her questions. She answered without emotion, describing everything she had seen. The attack, the capture, her daughter, the Valoran flagship, she told them. "Find out which one. Find out where it went." A senior officer, a woman with gray hair and tired eyes, sat beside Yuna's medical bed. "Commander Yuna, I know who you are. I know what you did in the war. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what happened. But you must understand. We cannot launch a rescue operation into Valoran space. It would mean war. Thousands would die. My daughter is alive." "We don't know that. I know it." Yuna's voice was ice. "I watched them take her. She was alive." The officer looked away. "Even so, one child. We cannot sacrifice thousands for one child. I'm sorry." Yuna said nothing more. She understood the math. She understood the politics. She had made similar decisions herself, years ago, when she wore that uniform. How many families had she failed to save because the numbers didn't work? But this was different. This was Hana. The officer left. Yuna stared at the ceiling of the medical bay, listening to the hum of the ship's engines. Her body was broken. Her home was gone. Her daughter was in the hands of monsters who saw humans as animals, as trophies, as things to be displayed and humiliated. The Valorans believed humans were weak. They believed human emotions made them inferior. Love was weakness. Compassion was stupidity. Mercy was for fools. They had never met a human mother whose child had been stolen. Yuna closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something had changed. The grief was still there, burning in her chest. But wrapped around it now was something harder, something sharper. She would heal. She would train. She would gather information, make contacts, call in every favor she had earned in 20 years of service. And then she would go into Valoran space. She would find a ship that held her daughter. She would kill anyone who stood in her way. And she would bring Hana home. The universe was vast and cruel and uncaring. The Valaran Empire was powerful beyond measure. The odds of success were almost zero. But Yuna was a mother. And mothers did not calculate odds. Mothers did not weigh costs and benefits. Mothers did not surrender. In the darkness of the medical bay, Yuna made a promise to the stars. "I'm coming, Hana. Wait for me. No matter how long it takes. No matter what I have to do. I'm coming for you." Somewhere across the void, aboard a warship called the Crimson Fang, a 7-year-old girl sat in a cold cell. She hugged her knees to her chest and whispered the same words over and over, like a prayer, like a shield against despair. "Mama will come. Mama always comes. Mama will come." And in that moment, though they were separated by light years and enemies and impossible odds, mother and daughter believed the same truth. They would find each other again. The Crimson Fang was the largest warship Hana had ever seen. It stretched across the stars like a metal monster, filled with thousands of Valoran soldiers. The hallways were cold and dark. The air smelled wrong, like rust and something sour. Everything was built for creatures much taller than a 7-year-old human girl. They kept her in a cage. It was not really a cage, the soldiers told her. It was a display chamber. She was a trophy now, property of High Commander Keth himself. She should feel honored. Most human children were sent to labor camps. She got to live on the flagship. Hannah did not feel honored. She felt scared and angry and sad. She missed her mother. She missed her garden with the butterflies. She missed the taste of her favorite rice cakes and the sound of rain on her bedroom window. But she did not cry in front of them. Her mother had taught her that crying was okay, that tears were not weakness. But something inside Hannah knew that these creatures would enjoy her tears. They wanted to see her break. So she kept her tears for the darkness, when no one was watching. High Commander Keth was a frightening creature. He was taller than any Valoran Hannah had seen, with dark green scales and scars across his face. His eyes were the color of old blood. When he walked through the ship, every soldier stopped and stood straight with fear. He visited Hannah's cell once a day. He stood outside the energy barrier and studied her like she was an interesting insect. "The human child," he would say. "Look at how small, how fragile. This is the species that thinks it can challenge the Valoran Empire." Then he would laugh, a cold sound like stones grinding together, and walk away. At formal dinners, they brought Hannah out on a chain. She had to stand beside Keth's chair while he and his officers ate. They threw scraps of food at her feet and made jokes about human stupidity. Sometimes they poked her with sticks to see if she would flinch. Hannah learned to stand perfectly still. She learned to make her face empty. Inside, she repeated her mother's words like a song. "Mama will come. Mama always comes." The weeks passed slowly. Hannah grew thinner. The food they gave her was barely enough, and it tasted terrible. The cell was always too cold or too hot. She got sick twice, coughing and shaking with fever, and no one cared. Until Doran. Lieutenant Doran was young for a Valoran officer. His scales were lighter than the others, almost silver in certain light. He had been assigned to manage the trophy prisoners, a job considered beneath most officers. There were 3 other human captives on the ship besides Hannah, 2 adults and 1 teenager. They were kept in separate cells on the same deck. Doran did his job efficiently, but without cruelty. He checked on the prisoners twice a day, recorded their status, and reported to his superiors. He did not torture them for fun like some guards did. One night, Doran was making his rounds when he heard voices from Hannah's cell. He moved quietly through the corridor and saw 2 soldiers standing outside her barrier. "Look at it shiver," one soldier laughed. "Pathetic. Let's see how long it can go without water," the other said. "I bet 3 days. I bet 2. Humans are weak." They had taken her water container. The girl sat in the corner of her cell, arms wrapped around herself, watching them with dark eyes that showed no fear, only exhaustion. Something moved in Doran's chest. He did not understand it. He had been taught since birth that humans were inferior, animals with pretend intelligence. They deserved their fate. But looking at this small creature, this child who faced 2 grown Valoran soldiers without begging or screaming, Doran felt something strange. Respect? No, that was impossible. And yet, he stepped forward. "What are you doing?" The soldiers turned quickly. "Lieutenant Doran, we were just having some entertainment. The High Commander's trophy is not for entertainment. If she dies from your games, he will be displeased. Return her water." The soldiers exchanged looks. One of them shrugged. "We were only playing. No harm done." They replaced the water container and left, grumbling under their breath. Doran stood alone outside Hannah's cell. The girl had not moved from her corner. She watched him with those dark eyes. "Thank you," she said quietly. Her voice was rough from thirst. Doran felt uncomfortable. "I did not do it for you. I did it because damaged property reflects poorly on the ship." Hannah nodded slowly. "Okay, he should have left then. His duty was done. But something made him stay." "You did not beg them to stop," he observed. "Would it have helped?" "No. Then why would I beg?" Doran had no answer for that. He turned and walked away, troubled by thoughts he could not name. In the days that followed, Doran found himself taking extra care with the human child. He made sure food portions were correct. He reported malfunctions in her cell's temperature system until they were fixed. When she developed a cough, he smuggled medicine from the medical bay. He told himself it was just practical thinking. A dead trophy was worthless. But late at night, when the ship was quiet, he admitted the truth to himself. He was curious about this small creature who refused to break. One evening, Hannah spoke to him through the barrier. "What is your name?" "Doran. I am Hannah." He knew her name. It was in her file. But hearing her say, it made it different somehow. More real. "Why are you not like the others?" she asked. "What do you mean?" "The other soldiers. They are mean. They like hurting us." "You don't." Doran did not know how to answer. "I was raised differently," he finally said. "My home world was on the border. We traded with humans sometimes. I learned your language. I saw that you were not just animals." "We're not animals at all. I am beginning to understand that." Hannah was quiet for a moment. Then she held up her hand. With a stolen stylus she had hidden in her sleeve, she had been drawing on the floor of her cell. Flowers, a small house, a woman with dark hair. "That is my mother," Hannah said. "She was a soldier too, a commander. She is very strong." "Where is she now?" "Looking for me." Hannah's voice was certain. "She will find me. She will come." Doran should have laughed. Should have told her the truth. No human could reach this deep into Valoran space. No rescue was coming. She would live and die as a trophy. But looking at the hope in her eyes, he could not say those words. "Your mother sounds brave," he said instead. "She is the bravest." A week later, one of the young Valoran crew members fell near Hannah's cell. He had been running carelessly and slipped on a wet floor. His leg bent at a wrong angle, and he screamed in pain. Guards were coming, but they were far away. The young Valoran lay there, crying and frightened. Hannah pressed herself against the barrier. "Don't move your leg. Keep it still. Breathe slowly." The young Valoran looked at her with shock. Why was the human helping him? "Breathe," Hannah repeated. "In and out. The pain will become smaller if you breathe." She talked him through the panic until the medics arrived. Later, word spread through the lower decks. The human child had helped one of their own. It made no sense to them. Enemies did not help enemies. But Hannah was not thinking about enemies. She was thinking about what her mother had taught her. That kindness was never wasted. That every person deserved help when they were hurting. Even the people who hurt you. Doran heard the story and felt something crack inside his understanding of the universe. Everything he had been taught was wrong. Humans were not weak because they showed compassion. They were strong because of it. That night, he made a decision that would change everything. He found an old human communication device in the ship's salvage hold. He spent hours figuring out how to use it. And then, hands shaking, he sent a message into neutral space. The message was simple. It described a human child. 7 years old. Dark hair. A birthmark behind her left ear. Held aboard the Crimson Fang. He included the ship's patrol route for the next month. He did not know if anyone would receive it. He did not know if it would matter. But for the first time in his life, Doran had done something good. Somewhere across the stars, a mother's prayer was about to be answered. 11 months had passed since Haven Colony burned. 11 months since Yuna watched her daughter disappear into the sky. In that time, she had become something new, something dangerous. The soldiers called her the Ghost of Haven. She appeared on battlefields like smoke, killed without hesitation, and vanished before anyone could catch her. She volunteered for missions that other soldiers refused. Suicide runs, deep raids, prisoner extractions behind enemy lines. She never failed. She never died. And with every mission, she gathered information. Her body was covered in new scars. Her hair had grown long and wild. She rarely slept more than 3 hours a night. When she did sleep, she dreamed of Hana's face pressed against that window, growing smaller and smaller. Every Valoran prisoner she captured received the same questions. Which flagship? Which commander? Where do they keep the human trophies? Most knew nothing useful. Some refused to talk. Yuna had learned to make them talk. She was not proud of this. She did not enjoy it. But she would do anything for her daughter. Anything at all. The military officials worried about her. Psychologists said she was unstable, dangerous. They recommended removing her from active duty. But Yuna was too valuable. She won battles. She brought back intelligence. And secretly, many officers admired her. What parent would not do the same? On a space station at the edge of human territory, Yuna met Mira. Mira was a smuggler with a fast ship and a network of contacts throughout the galaxy. She was small but tough, with short hair and eyes that had seen too much death. Her family had been taken by Valoran slavers 5 years ago. She had spent every day since then causing problems for the Empire. "You're the Ghost of Haven," Mira said, sitting across from Yuna in a dark corner of a noisy bar. "I've heard stories. They say you're crazy. They're probably right." Myra smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Good. Sane people don't get things done. What do you need?" "Information. I'm looking for a ship called the Crimson Fang, High Commander Keth's flagship. My daughter is on it." Myra's smile faded. "Keth, that's a big target. He destroyed my home world. I'd love to see him dead. Help me find him, and you might get your wish." They shook hands. It was the beginning of a partnership that would shake the galaxy. Myra's network was impressive. She had contacts everywhere. Merchants who traded in neutral zones. Diplomats who heard whispers in government halls. Even a few Valoran defectors who had grown tired of their empire's cruelty. Slowly, piece by piece, they built a picture of the Crimson Fang's movements. It was not easy. The flagship moved constantly, traveling from system to system on a pattern that seemed random. But patterns always existed if you looked hard enough. 3 more months, Mira estimated. Maybe 4. We'll have a solid prediction of where the ship will be and when. 3 months felt like forever. But Yuna had waited 11. She could wait a little longer. Then the message arrived. Myra burst into Yuna's small quarters, her face pale with shock. "You need to see this now." It was a transmission, captured by one of Myra's listening posts in neutral space. The signal was weak, clearly sent from inside Valoran territory, using old human equipment. Someone had taken an enormous risk to send it. The message was short. A human child, 7 years old, dark hair, a birthmark behind her left ear, held aboard the Crimson Fang, the ship's patrol route for the next month. Yuna's hands shook as she read. The birthmark, behind the left ear. She had kissed that spot 1,000 times when Hannah was a baby. "It's her," Yuna whispered. "She's alive. She's alive. My daughter is alive. For the first time in 11 months, she cried. Mira gave her time to feel the emotion. Then she spoke gently. This changes everything. We have a location. We have a timeline. But we need a team. You can't do this alone. Ben helped me find one. They found Junho first. He was a former Earth Fleet pilot, one of the best in the service until a mission went wrong and he lost his entire squadron. He had been discharged for drinking too much and fighting too often. He was wasted and broken. But when Yuna explained her mission, something sparked in his empty eyes. A child, he said. You're asking me to fly into Valoran space to rescue a child. Yes, that's insane. We'll probably all die. Probably. Junho was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up, steadier than he had been in months. When do we leave? Next came Suji. She was a combat engineer, an expert in explosives and mechanical systems. She had been court-martialed for destroying a Valoran supply depot without authorization. The blast had killed 30 enemy soldiers and saved a human colony from starvation. The military called her reckless. The colonists called her a hero. I've been waiting for something like this, Suji said when she heard the plan. Something that matters. Count me in. Myra provided the ship. It was a decommissioned stealth vessel, small and fast, designed for getting in and out of places it should not be. The four of them spent weeks modifying it. Extra weapons. Better sensors. A reinforced docking system for connecting with larger ships. They studied the Crimson Fang's layout using stolen intelligence. They memorized guard patrol patterns. They planned primary routes and backup routes and emergency routes. They prepared for everything that could go wrong. We'll only have one chance, Yuna told her team. If we fail, there won't be a second attempt. They'll move her, hide her, kill her as punishment. We need to be perfect. No pressure then, Junho joked. Nobody laughed. The night before they left, Yuna sat alone in the ship's tiny cockpit. Through the window, she could see the stars stretching endlessly into the void. Her daughter was out there somewhere, waiting. She pulled out a small photograph. Hanad, 6 years old, smiling in their garden on Haven Colony, a butterfly resting on her finger. The picture was worn from being held too many times. I'm coming, baby, Yuna whispered. Hold on just a little longer. Myra joined her, sitting in the co-pilot seat. Nervous? Terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Mira paused. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. What happens after? If we succeed, if you get her back, what then? Yuna considered the question. She had been so focused on the rescue that she had not thought much about what came next. I'll take her somewhere safe, she finally said. Somewhere far from all of this. I'll watch her grow up. I'll make sure she laughs every day and never feels afraid again. And if the Valorans come looking for revenge, then I'll kill them. Every single one. Yuna's voice was calm, matter of fact. They started this war with me when they took my child. I'll finish it however I have to. Myra nodded slowly. You know, the Valorans think humans are weak. They think our emotions make us easy to defeat. I know. They've never understood what it means to love someone. What a parent will do for a child. No, they haven't. The next morning, the ship launched into hyperspace. 4 humans against an empire. 1 mother against impossible odds. The Crimson Fang was 2 weeks away. Somewhere aboard that ship, a 7-year-old girl still believed her mother would come for her. She was about to be proven right. The Crimson Fang hung in space like a sleeping dragon. Its dark metal surface stretched for kilometers, covered with weapon systems and sensor arrays. Around it, smaller Valoran ships moved like fish around a whale. Inside, 5,000 soldiers went about their duties, never imagining that death was approaching in a tiny ship. Yuna studied the flagship through the cockpit window. Her face showed no fear, only determination. "Beginning approach," Junho said quietly. "Stealth systems at maximum. They shouldn't detect us until we're already docked." The plan was simple but dangerous. They would disguise their ship as salvage, a captured human vessel being delivered for processing. The Crimson Fang's automated systems would guide them to a cargo bay. From there, they would move fast and quiet to the prisoner deck. 20 minutes to find Hana. 20 minutes to get back to the ship. After that, every second reduced their chances of survival. "Docking in 60 seconds, Suji reported. "No alarms. They're not suspicious." "Yet," Myra added. The ship connected to the Crimson Fang with a soft thump. Yuna was first through the door, her weapon raised. The cargo bay was dim and empty. Giant metal containers surrounded them, casting deep shadows. "Move," Yuna ordered. They ran through corridors that Yuna had memorized from stolen blueprints. Left at the junction. Right at the storage area. Down 2 levels using maintenance shafts. Each turn brought them deeper into enemy territory. Junho stayed at the ship, ready for a fast escape. Mira took point, her years of smuggling giving her eyes that caught every movement. Suji carried a bag of explosives, ready to create distractions if needed. Yuna carried her weapon and her rage and her hope. They were halfway to the prisoner deck when Doran found them. He stepped out of a side corridor so suddenly that Mira almost shot him. But he had his hands raised, empty of weapons. "Wait," he said in careful human speech. "I am Doran. I sent the message." Yuna moved forward, her weapon aimed at his chest. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" "The birthmark. Behind her left ear. Shaped like a small star. I included that detail so you would know." Yuna's finger trembled on the trigger. No one knew about that birthmark except family. This Valoran had been close enough to Hana to see it. "Why?" she demanded. "Why would you betray your own people?" Doran's yellow eyes met hers. "Because your daughter taught me something. She taught me that cruelty is not strength. That kindness is not weakness. I cannot undo the harm my people have caused. But I can help you save one child." Myra looked at Yuna. "Your call." Every instinct screamed at Yuna to kill this enemy and move on. But something in Doran's eyes reminded her of Taiho. Her husband had the same look when he talked about doing the right thing, even when it was hard. "Show us the way," Yuna said. "But if you're lying, I will end you slowly." Doran nodded and began walking. "This way, quickly." He led them through maintenance passages that were not on any blueprint. Guard rotations that Yuna's intelligence had not predicted. Shortcuts that saved precious minutes. And then they reached the prisoner deck. Hana's cell was the last one in the row. Through the energy barrier, Yuna could see a small figure sitting in the corner. Thin, pale, but alive. "Hana," Yuna breathed. The girl's head snapped up. Her eyes went wide. "Mama?" "I'm here, baby. I'm here." Doran moved to the control panel and deactivated the barrier. Yuna ran inside and wrapped her arms around her daughter. Hana was so small, so light. She had lost weight. She had new scars. But she was alive and real and in her mother's arms. "I knew you would come," Hana sobbed. "I knew it. I told them. I told everyone. I'm sorry it took so long." "I'm so sorry." "It's okay, Mama. You're here now." Myra coughed gently. "We need to move. We've been lucky so far, but that won't last." Yuna pulled back, keeping one hand on Hana's shoulder. She would not let go again. Never again. "Stay close to me," she told her daughter. "Don't let go of my hand no matter what. I won't." They ran. The first alarm went off when they were 3 levels from the cargo bay. Someone had discovered that the trophy was missing. The entire ship would be searching for them now. Suji, we need a distraction, Yuna ordered. Already on it. Suji pulled a device from her bag and tossed it down a side corridor. 30 seconds later, an explosion shook the ship. Fire alarms joined the security alarms. Soldiers began running in all directions, confused about which emergency to handle. They kept moving. Doran led them through the chaos, using his authority to pass checkpoints. But it could not last forever. High Commander Keth found them in the docking corridor, 300 meters from their ship. He stood at the far end with a full squad of elite guards. His old blood eyes burned with fury. The trophy, Keth growled. You dare to steal from me? Yuna pushed Hannah behind her and raised her weapon. She was never yours. She was never a trophy. She's my daughter. Human sentiment. Weakness. Keth drew his own weapon, a massive energy blade that hummed with deadly power. I destroyed your colony. I took your child. And now I will kill you and make her watch before I end her too. Try. The battle was brutal. Suji and Mira engaged the guards with grenades and gunfire. Doran fought his own former soldiers, proving his choice with every strike. And Yuna faced Keth. He was stronger, faster, a warrior trained from birth. But Yuna was something he had never encountered before. She was a mother with nothing left to lose. She took his hits and kept coming. She bled from cuts and kept fighting. Every time he knocked her down, she stood back up. And all the while, her eyes never left his. Why won't you die? Keth snarled, genuine confusion in his voice. Because she's watching, Yuna replied. Because I promised her. She ducked under his blade and drove her weapon into the gap in his armor. Keth stumbled back, wounded but not finished. Behind them, Hannah had found a control panel, the same type she had studied during her long months of captivity. Her small fingers moved across the buttons. An emergency bulkhead slammed down between Keth and his remaining guards. He was alone now, trapped with 4 enemies. Keth looked at the child who had just sealed his fate. You should have been nicer to your trophy, Hannah said quietly. Yuna did not waste a chance. She attacked with everything she had, driving Keth back toward the airlock. Mira and Suji added their fire. Doran struck from the side. In the end, it was not one final blow but many. Keth fell to his knees, his body broken. Impossible, he whispered. Defeated by humans. By a child. Yuna stood over him, her weapon aimed at his head. Tell your gods that a human mother sent you. She pulled the trigger. The airlock opened behind them. Their ship was waiting. Junho's voice crackled through their communicators. All aboard now. Valoran reinforcements incoming. They ran. They climbed aboard. The doors sealed behind them as weapons fire scorched the outer hull. Hold on. Junho shouted. The ship tore away from the Crimson Fang, engines screaming at maximum power. Valoran fighters gave chase, their weapons lighting up the void. But Junho was the best pilot in the fleet, even after everything. He weaved through asteroids, used the flagship's own mass as cover, and pushed the engines beyond their limits. When an Earth fleet patrol appeared at the edge of the system, responding to Mira's emergency signal, the Valoran fighters finally broke off. In the cramped cabin of the tiny ship, Yuna held her daughter close. Both of them were crying. Both of them were smiling. It's over, Yuna whispered. It's over, baby. We're going home. Hannah looked up at her mother with those dark eyes that had seen too much. No more cages? No more cages. No more trophies. You're free. You'll always be free. Across the cabin, Doran sat alone, staring at his hands. He betrayed his people. He could never go home. Everything he had known was gone. But when Hannah walked over and touched his arm, He felt something unexpected. Peace. "Thank you," the girl said. "For the water. For the medicine. For helping us. I should have done more. Sooner. You did enough. You did the right thing when it mattered." Doran looked at this small human child who had somehow changed everything. "Your mother was right to believe in you. You are extraordinary." Hannah smiled. "So are you. You just didn't know it yet." The ship flew on toward human space, toward safety, toward a future that nobody had thought possible. The Valoran Empire had lost its most decorated commander. A mother had found her child. An enemy had become an ally. And somewhere in the great darkness between stars, a new story was beginning. The story of what humans could do when they loved something enough to fight for it. The hearing room was cold and formal. Earth Fleet admirals sat behind a long table, their faces serious. Guards stood at every door. In the center of the room, Doran waited for his fate. He was the first Valoran in history to surrender to human forces. No one knew what to do with him. Some called him a war criminal who deserved death. Others called him a traitor who could not be trusted. A few whispered that he was a spy, pretending to defect so he could gather human secrets. The chief admiral, an old woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, spoke first. "Lieutenant Doran of the Valoran Empire, you have admitted to serving aboard the Crimson Fang. You have admitted to participating in raids against human colonies. You have admitted to guarding human prisoners, including children." Doran nodded. "Yes, all of this is true. These are serious crimes. Our laws demand punishment. I understand. I do not ask for mercy. I only ask that you believe what I tell you is true. I sent that message. I helped with the rescue. I did these things because they were right, not because I expected forgiveness." The admirals exchanged glances. They had seen Doran fight against his own people. They had read reports from Yuna and her team. But trust was hard to give to an enemy. The door at the back of the room opened. Every head turned. Hannah walked in, small and determined. Her mother followed close behind, ready to protect her daughter from anything. But Hannah did not look afraid. She walked straight to the front of the room and stood before the admirals. "I want to speak," she said. "Please." The chief admiral leaned forward. "This is an official hearing, child. It is not a place for emotional appeals. I'm not making an emotional appeal. I have information that is important to your decision." There was something in the girl's voice that made the admirals pause. She had survived 11 months as a Valoran trophy. She had helped seal High Commander Keth away from his guards. She was not an ordinary child. "Very well," the chief admiral said. "Speak." Hannah turned to look at Doran. Then she faced the admirals again. "When I was captured, nobody cared if I lived or died. I was a thing to them. A toy. They took my water for fun. They let me get sick. I was alone and scared, and I thought nobody would ever help me." She paused. The room was completely silent. Then Doran came. He gave me water when no one else would. He brought medicine when I was sick. He talked to me like I was a person, not a thing. He could have been killed for this. His people would have executed him if they found out. But he did it anyway. Hannah stepped closer to the admiral's table. "You want to know if you can trust him?" "I trust him. He risked his life to save mine. He sent the message that brought my mother to me. He fought against his own soldiers so we can escape." "Child," one admiral interrupted. "He spent months serving on an enemy warship. He was part of the system that imprisoned you." "Yes, and then he chose to stop." "That's what matters." Hannah's voice was firm. "Anyone can be good when it's easy. Doran was good when it was hard. When it could have killed him. That's the only kind of good that really counts." The admirals were quiet. They had expected strategy discussions and security analyses. They had not expected wisdom from a 7-year-old girl. Una spoke from the back of the room. My daughter is right. I have spent my life fighting Valorans. I have hated them with every part of my heart. But Doran proved that hate can be wrong. He proved that individuals can be better than their species, their training, their culture. If we execute him or send him away, we prove that humans are not better than the enemies we fight. The Chief Admiral studied Una for a long moment. Then she looked at Doran. Lieutenant, if we grant you asylum, what do you intend to do? Doran straightened. I want to help end this war. I want to show other Valorans that there is another way. I know the Empire's secrets. I know where they are weak. I will share everything I know. And if you face former comrades in battle, then I will fight them. I chose my side. I chose humanity. The admirals discussed quietly among themselves. Minutes passed. Finally, the Chief Admiral nodded. Asylum is granted. Lieutenant Doran will be placed under observation for 1 year. If he proves trustworthy, he will be given full freedom. If he betrays us, she did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Doran bowed his head. Thank you. I will not make you regret this. Hana smiled at him. He smiled back. 6 months later, Una and Hana lived on a small moon called Paradise. It was a quiet place with blue oceans and forests that glowed at night. Their house sat on a hill, overlooking a valley filled with flowers. Every morning, Una watched Hana play in the garden. The girl had gained weight. Her scars were healing. She laughed more often now, though sometimes she still woke screaming from nightmares. The war continued in distant stars. The Valoran Empire was furious about the death of High Commander Keth. They promised revenge. Earthfleet prepared for major attacks. But here, on this small moon, there was peace. Myra visited sometimes, bringing gifts and stories from her smuggling runs. Junho had returned to active duty, finally sober and flying better than ever. Suji was designing new weapons for Earthfleet, her reckless creativity now officially encouraged. And Doran had started something unexpected. He had recorded a message and broadcast it across neutral space into Valoran territory, anywhere it could reach. The message was in his own language, meant for his own people. I was taught that humans were weak. I was taught that their emotions made them inferior. Love, compassion, mercy. We called these things stupidity. But I watched a human child endure torment that would have broken our strongest warriors. She did not beg. She did not break. She waited and believed, and when the chance came, she acted with courage. I watched a mother cross light years and fight through armies to save her daughter. She did not calculate the odds. She did not weigh costs and benefits. She simply refused to give up. I watched them show mercy to an enemy who had guarded their prisons. Me. Instead of killing me, they let me live. They let me choose a new path. Humans are not weak. They are terrifying in ways we never understood. Their love makes them dangerous. Their hope makes them unstoppable. Their compassion makes them worthy of respect. If you are a Valoran hearing this message, ask yourself, do you truly believe in our empire's cruelty? Or do you, like me, want something better? There is another way. I found it. You can too. The message spread further than anyone expected. In the following months, 3 more Valoran soldiers defected. Then 7. Then 20. A small number compared to the billions in the Empire, but a beginning. One evening on Paradise, Hana sat on her mother's lap, watching ships pass overhead. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. Mama? Yes, baby? Will the war ever end? Una thought carefully before answering. I don't know. Maybe not in our lifetime. But we'll keep trying. That's what humans do. We keep trying, even when things seem impossible. Is that why the Valorans are scared of us? I think so. They don't understand how we can lose so much and still keep fighting. How we can be hurt so badly and still hope. It confuses them. Hannah nodded slowly. Doran understands now. Yes, he does. There will be more like him. More who understand. Yuna kissed her daughter's forehead. I hope so. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear one by one. Out there, somewhere, battles were being fought and lives were being lost. But here, in this moment, a mother and daughter were together. Safe, free, loved. Hannah spoke again, her voice quiet but certain. When I grow up, I want to help people. Like Doran helped me. I want to find the good ones and show them they don't have to be afraid. Yuna felt tears in her eyes. After everything her daughter had suffered, she still believed in finding good in others. Still believed in the power of kindness. That's a beautiful goal, Hannah. Will you help me? Always, no matter what. That's what mothers do. Hannah smiled and leaned into her mother's arms. The night grew dark around them, but neither felt afraid. They had survived the worst the universe could offer. They had found each other against impossible odds. And they had proven, in their own small way, what it truly meant to be human. Not strength of body. Not power of weapons. Not size of empires. Just love. Stubborn, unreasonable, universe-defying love. And that, the Valorans were only beginning to understand, was the most dangerous force in all of creation.